Hello, welcome to Sunday School with Miss Wesley. I am so glad you've taken the opportunity to click on this video. Whether you're a returning viewer or brand new, I hope to enlighten you in your knowledge and quest to learn more about the Bible, or learn more stories, or learn more about Jesus. Whatever your quest is, I hope to help you. Or you are a Sunday school teacher and you need a lesson or lesson plans, I hope to help you out. For those that are new and have no idea how I do things, I do 10-week lesson plans of different themes. This one we are learning all about, now I have dogs, and every time I say this name, there's a chance they might bark. So, we are learning all about Paul. And this is not a 10-week lesson plan like I normally do. This is a 5 to 6 week lesson plan. Now, I've done this before in my Sunday school class. Kids enjoyed it. Now, we were going to be learning about digging. Well, God digs it, but God threw a monkey wrench and said I needed to do this lesson plan. So, we are learning about our good friend, Paul. And last lesson, we learned about Stephen and Saul. And Stephen was a deacon in the church. He was zealous for Jesus, and he was telling everybody about it. And the church took this as heresy and stoned him. And by stoning, I mean they grabbed rocks and they hurled them at someone until they were dead, or they felt comfortable with letting them go. It was a cruel way to kill someone. And they did this to Stephen. And Saul was there for it all. The people that stoned Stephen laid their coats at Saul's feet. So, and then they began to hurl rocks at him. So, Saul goes on to become higher up in the temple. Now, for those that don't know, the hierarchy in the temple would not allow people, they didn't want people to believe that Jesus died and rose again, because that didn't fit what they wanted to happen. Okay, they interpreted the prophecies handed down as that the Messiah was going to come and put Israel in charge of the entire world. Because in their mind, as God's chosen people, that was what God was going to do for them. So when Jesus came and his whole mission was to die for people's sins so that they wouldn't have to sacrifice anymore, so that they wouldn't have to do the old ways, to be the fulfillment of the law that Moses got from God, and that was the only way you were going to get to heaven, is if you follow these laws and you sacrifice like crazy. That was the only way you were going to get to heaven. And when Jesus came, he put away with the law, and he was the fulfillment of that law. We don't live by that law anymore. But the hierarchy, or the high priests, and the guys that were in charge of the temple, did not want people to believe this. So they called it heresy. Heresy means that it was lies against the religion and the church at that time. Now, according to Jewish law, the temple was pretty much in charge. They had kings and everything, and the kings would make laws and everything, but you did not break the laws that were passed down from Moses. Okay? And even though they're part of the Roman Empire, the Romans allowed the countries to have their own culture, so they were allowed to still maintain their religion. Okay? So, this is where Saul comes in. Saul was put in charge of gathering up people that spoke heresy against the temple. And he either imprisoned them or slaughtered them. I'm not sugarcoating, that's what the Bible says. Okay? So, Saul, he was good at his job. People were scared of him. Okay? They knew who he was. And when this happened, when the temple started going against the people of the church, they scattered. Alright? And that just, instead of stopping it, they accelerated it by scattering the fire and putting it everywhere. Okay? What Satan does to destroy, God sometimes uses it to, for his glory. You can't destroy what God puts in place. And this is where Saul comes in. Amazing! So, Saul is on his way to Damascus to do what he was called from the temple to do. He was breathing threatenings. Okay? He was threatening. He was saying, I'm going to kill some people. He was like pumped up. He was ready to do his job. He had letters in his hands to go do what he was told to do. Letters, I mean warrants. Okay? He had these guards with him. He was on his way. He was going to fulfill his job because the temple told him that what they were teaching was wrong. And Saul was a guy who was, if it's wrong, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's the kind of person he was. Alright? He had a strong moral obligation to fulfill what the temple was said. And as he was going, he was almost to Damascus, the city of Damascus. And a bright light shone from heaven around him and stopped Paul in his tracks. Paul fell to the ground, and a voice filled his ears, filled the light around him. And it said, Paul, Paul, why persecutest thou me? And Paul's like, who are you, Lord? I am Jesus, the one that you persecutest. It's hard to kick against the pricks. I looked up the word pricks. You know what pricks means? It means something that sharp object, or something that pokes you, really sharp. I think Jesus was making something that pricks your heart. You know, when Stephen was dying, he did not die quietly. Instead of cursing the people that were hurting him, he asked God to forgive them. And Saul was one of those people. So, Saul, as Jesus was talking to him, he said that he would, oh gosh. Hold on, I got you. Because when I get excited, I can't see. Which is odd, because that's what happens to Saul. So, he says to Paul to arise and go into the city. And then he would tell Paul what to do. Sometimes I need a little reminder. So, when the light goes out and Jesus stops talking to Saul, Saul can't see anything. He's blind. He can't see no man. It is darkness in his eyes. The men that were with him leads Paul to the city of Damascus and puts him in a house. And that's where Saul stays. As Saul goes through this process and is in the house, God talks to one of his disciples. named Ananias. And Ananias, God tells him about Saul. It says, I've done something to Saul. And I want you to go and preach to him and heal him. And Ananias says, God, he gonna kill me. You know who Saul is. He's been going out killing people, and you're telling me to go. God, he gonna kill me. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what Ananias is thinking. And God's like, I have a purpose for him. I am going to do great and wonderful things with Saul. Go to him on a street called Straight. You will find him in a house. So Ananias is like, okay. See, God's intention for Saul is to bring the gospel to the Gentiles. The Gentiles being everyone that's not a Jew. That'd be us. So, Ananias goes to the house, doesn't knock on the door, just walks in. The Bible doesn't say he knocks on the door, he just walks in. And lays his hands on Saul, and on his eyes, on his temples. And like scales fall off his eyes and fall to the ground. And Saul is able to see. And Ananias helps him, and he goes from being Saul, the destroyer of Christians, to Saul on fire for God. So Saul gets saved, and so Saul goes overzealous. I mean, he starts teaching everybody. He goes to the temple in Damascus and starts preaching at the temple. This, of course, makes the temple mad, and because the people start saying, wasn't this Saul? The guy who was persecuting Christians? The guy that they put in charge of hauling us to jail? And here he is talking about Jesus and the resurrection. And so, of course, this makes the temple very angry, because the guy that they put to persecute is now for Jesus. So they decide that they start talking amongst themselves and decide, we gonna kill him. We can't have that. No, we can't have him going out teaching about Jesus. No, this guy has to go. So the disciples in the city learn this, and they're going to get Paul out of there. And so somehow the people that want to kill him, because Paul wasn't just teaching at the temples, okay, he was also teaching against the Greeks and the Roman Empire, and anybody that will listen, he was there, he was teaching. I mean, when I say he was at the temples, I don't mean just the Jewish temples, okay? He was at all of them. So they wanted to kill him. So they learned that he was going to escape the city, because, you can't hide anything. And so they were at the gate waiting to capture him. So instead of taking him through a gate, they put him in a large basket, the disciples of the city did, and lowered him down the side of the wall. Now, if you don't know, most cities in Israel are built on a plateau, and these walls are not short. They're rather tall walls. Paul had a lot of faith that these guys were going to lower him down and keep him safe. Oh, by the way, after he was saved, his name got changed from Saul to Paul, like most of the disciples. Lasted longer than I thought it would. So, and from there, he was able to get to Jerusalem and work with the disciples there. Peter and them. So, that is the story of Paul. How he got saved. Miraculous story. Sometimes God has to blind someone in order to make them see. You know, prick against your heart. God pricks our heart to open our eyes. Sometimes calamity happens or something bad happens to open our hearts to what God is trying to tell us. Sometimes we could be so inwardly minded or selfish or prideful that we can't see what God wants us to see. And so that's what happened to Paul. He was so blinded by what he was trying to accomplish, by what he was told, by what he was directed to do, that he did not even look for the truth. All he had was propaganda that the temple was telling him. He didn't have the truth. He didn't, but he knew there was something more, because that guy that died, there was something with him. He was different. So God had to blind him in order to open his eyes. And through that act, what was bad, God turned good. I mean, the same guy that was breathing out threatenings and killing people became so on fire that he was going to the very same people that he worked with and trying to save them too. Yeah, God can change. God can change anyone's heart if they allow it. You can't force something that someone doesn't want to do. And that is wrong. Even if it's the right thing for them, you can't force them. God gave us free will choice. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this project real quick. If you are here for Sunday school, a Sunday school lesson, I will help you with this project. You can do it with your class, or if you want to try this at home, you can. It's rather it's difficult, but it's easy. If you do it right, it's really easy, but it's fun. Okay, what I have here is a heart, and as you can see, it has eyelids, and when you lift it up, eyes, and then you put it back down, and they close. Awesome, right? Alright, so what you do is, I did not put circles on these so you can, oh well. So first you have your white heart, then yeah, I already put to make it quicker for the kids, I put the eye holes already on it. Makes it a whole lot easier for them. And then they just draw their eyes. I'm not going to do the full project. I'm just going to show you how to do it. Okay? And then you draw your eyes. Make sure they use colored pencils or crayons. Or they can use pastels too. But pastels can get on your hands and stuff. Do not use markers or paint, because you will be gluing and that just gets everywhere. Alright. You want to use the white glue. Do not use glue sticks because it will not work as well, because it's just a different kind of stick. Alright. And then you want to use, alright, these are your eyelids. You kind of want to make them like little T's with balls on the, with like shades with a stick sticking out. You know, like shades. Alright. So, they can color these too. They don't have to bother coloring this part. Just the eyelid part. And you want to pick out your top heart. I have a whole bunch of, well, different colors here. They just have it on there. See, I find it easier if you trace them out for the kids. It saves time, a lot of time. So if you want to make it a little quicker, just take like a oh gosh, something small and round, circular, like a pill bottle, and just put it on there. Dip it in some, oh, I don't know, ink. Put it on there. Faster, saves you a little time, because you only have so much time for Sunday school class. I know, and if you stay on one project too long, the kids get bored and they go off somewhere else. You have a limited time to keep their minds focused. I understand. And getting them to be quiet long enough for you to tell them what to do, harder. So what you do is you have them take their eyes, put whatever color eyes they want on there, and then I just lost it. Oh well. Then where this red line is, I'm gonna put it a little closer. Alright? You want them to put glue right where this red line is. Do not put it right here. You just want it right at the end, up top here, and then right underneath, because you want your eyelids to be able to open up, and if you put too much glue down below, it's not going to open. So your eyelids will just stay shut, which will be really sad. We want the eyes to open. So then you take your eyelids, place them on here, cut this out, your eyelids out, your eye holes out, and then you place it on top, and then you'll get this. Before you start opening and shutting your eyes, make sure the kids let them dry, or again, it's not going to work. It'll just come apart. It's a fun project. Again, it's a fun project, but you have to do it right. Also, little tip. You don't have to do this, but I found it's a little easier. Is if you put tape on the movement measure. I don't know what else to call it. What lifts the eyelids up. If you put tape on it, this clear tape will work. Sometimes it will break if you don't, because this one, it broke. And now I can still use it, but I just have to be a little bit more careful with it. Yeah, see, it broke. So if you put tape on there, it won't hurt it. It'll help it, when kids are opening and shutting their eyes. So I hope that helps. I don't want to do the complete project because I'm almost out of time. Alright. So, and of course you'll need scissors. But it's a fun project. My Sunday school class liked it. You can take scrapbook paper or construction paper, and they can put whatever design they want on their hearts. It's a good way for them to understand the lesson that you're teaching when it comes to Saul becoming Paul, and open the eyes of your heart. Or you could always just sing the song, "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord." Or you could do both. That's this week's lesson. Next lesson we will be going to jail. Yep, Peter and Paul in jail. We'll see how that goes. I love you guys. God loves you, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So remember, no matter where you are in this life, you are loved. Goodbye.